Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we are returning to episode number 7 of our Let's Play series of Suzerain Rizia, a new role-playing, sort of choose-your-own-adventure political game about a fictional country in a fictional world. In our fictional world, we are a monarch of the Kingdom of Rizia, and we are trying to get some territory back to us that was leased to a neighbor who is basically a quasi-genocidal Hitler-like figure, although without the attempt to conquer the world yet. Smolak is his name, President Smolak, and we were recently at a ceremony with him in Zil, the province that is being leased to him, and there was a terrorist attack, and so we're trying to see if that's going to influence the actual handover of Zil, which is basically due now, to our kingdom, or, you know, if something else will happen. With that being said, this was taken from a live stream on my Twitch channel, so if you are interested in following this series, the full videos are over there from previous streams. But without further ado and too much more sort of jibber-jabbering, I'll go ahead and wrap this intro up and jump back into the stream. Let's see what the update of the Zil incident in our Security Council is. A few weeks have passed since the attack in Zil. I called Lucidia, Hugo, Titus, and Vina to my council chambers for a security update. Titus insisted on sweeping the room before Vina and I sat down. Hugo was next to arrive early as usual. Your Majesty, how are you faring? I'm worried about Valen's reaction. Smolak hasn't even made a public statement yet. Perhaps no news is good news in this case. Gentlemen! Everyone automatically fell silent as Lucidia strode into the room. She was dressed in her army major's blazer, with 2 stars prominently displayed above her right breast pocket. Now that crisis has struck, her entire bearing had changed. She had a commanding air about her that recalled her father. Thank you for joining us, Duchess Azaro. Can you update us on the Zil situation? Certainly, Your Majesty. Still standing, she picked up a dossier off the table and flipped it open. I'll reiterate what we already know. At 1605 hours on December 8th, 1950, an explosive object detonated in Smolak Square in the city of Zil. It had been planted beneath the grandstands that were set up that morning. Seated in those stands were a mix of civilians and political figures who had been invited to the Friendship Day event, all of Vezek heritage. The most recent casualty report states that 3 civilians were killed in the blast. Of the 14 injured, all are now in stable condition. Was anyone important amongst the dead? No, the most prominent Vezek attendees all made it out unharmed. Valen's guards saw to that. Based on the scant evidence available, Valen's intelligence agency suspects that Rizian nationalist group's Su Omania was behind the crime. What evidence are they basing this on? Anyone can scream for the king. Unclear. This is all they've told us. The Duke of Iza might be able to clarify the situation. I told you, Duchess Azaro, I've already spoken to Rico, and he had absolutely nothing to do with what happened. I believe him. This has Valen's fingerprints all over it. A sight more likely than a peaceful group of Rizians suddenly taking up bomb-making. I should clarify, the group's official activities have never been violent, but individual members have printed leaflets calling for a more creative solution to the Vezek problem. I don't understand why Cousin Rico would even support a group like that. Queen Liza always said monarchy was incompatible with nationalism. The crown knows no borders. Yeah, okay, honey, but I was a member of this group. Please don't change the subject, Vina. Agreed. Let's get back to the topic at hand. Although, all kings matter. Kings' lives matter. If I may, Your Grace, why have you never once thrown your own weight behind Su Omana if you support its ideals? Hugo spread his hands wide. It would do the group no favors to have an old man like me in the spotlight. They need youth, vitality. They're the future of Rizia, after all. Future or not, we have no concrete proof Su Omana was behind the attack. All we have is Valen's word. And it's in Valen's interest to pin the blame on the bombing on Rizia. Exactly. We still haven't ruled out the possibility that President Smolik himself ordered it. Or another party interested in weakening the both of us. With an increased foreign intelligence budget, we could commission a full investigation into the Zil incident and take measures to prevent such an event from reoccurring. How much would it cost us? A significant portion of our emergency funds, but it'll be worth it. May I point out that you weren't present on the day of the Zil incident? The king and I were. Prior to His Majesty's arrival, my men and I attempted to clear the square of every conceivable danger. How we could not be everywhere at once. What's your point, Mr. Gordian? This event has shown how vulnerable you and the royal family truly are, and how ill-equipped my men are to seek out and neutralize threats to your safety. Therefore, it's my opinion that any emergency funding allocated in the wake of the Zil attack should go toward re-expanding the Golden Guard. Captain Gordian, I trust you to guard the king, but national security is not your domain. Ma'am, back in the 1800s, the Golden Guard not only protected the royal family, but was assigned to carry out special missions of national importance. This version of the Guard had the king's authority to conduct sensitive internal investigations without getting caught in red tape. I know you have reservations about expanding the Golden Guard, Your Majesty, but this is precisely the kind of situation where our expertise would prove invaluable. I don't trust Hugo at all. I don't know about Gordian, but I don't trust Hugo. What kind of investigations did you have in mind, Captain? If I were allowed to send my men into Iza, we could confirm or rule out the involvement of individuals under suspicion in the Zil attack. Captain Gordian, I am all for the expansion of the Golden Guard, but not if you insist on using it to chase a dead end. With respect, sir, we don't know whether it's a dead end, and investigating an organization with ties to the royal family is exactly the kind of sensitive mission the Golden Guard was built for. Perhaps so, Captain Gordian, but the attack took place in Valen. Any resources that go toward investigating it should be allocated there, not within Rizia. The tension was broken by a knock at the door. Lorento came in, clearly out of breath. Excuse me, Your Majesty. My fellow counselors. These stairs never get easier. Take a moment, Escobil. I've just received word from Valen's foreign minister. President Smolik plans to make it public that Rizian nationalists were involved in the Zil incident. Our relations with Valen have been cordial enough that Smolik will not immediately blame the crown, but he will be expecting a response. He's just testing us. His government can't prove anything. This makes me certain that Valen was behind the bombing. They're trying to weaken our claim on Zil. You see now why I want to launch an investigation? Imagine the reaction once it comes out that Smolik attacked his own people. May I ask what the five of you were discussing before I came in? Our security response to the Zil incident. Duchess Azaro is requesting funds for a foreign intelligence investigation in Valen, while Mr. Gordian, would prefer the Golden Guard be given license to investigate threats within Rizia's borders. Well summarized, Vina. She doesn't need that praise. If I fund Duchess Azaro's investigation and it exposes Vesek's wrongdoing, Smolik won't have a leg to stand on. A tricky needle to thread, Your Majesty. Pursuing such an investigation might lead the President to think you're undermining his authority. If Valen has nothing to hide, they'll welcome our assistance. Sending investigators to Zil would also shift the focus away from Su-Omania and the royal family. So, Your Majesty, will you be conducting one of these investigations? Oh my god. It's 3 budget? That's all the money I have. I mean, I can raise $1 more by selling our 1 piece of oil. But I'd rather give the money to Lucidia. I don't trust Hugo as far as I can spit. And I don't know where Gordion stands in relation to Hugo. Private secret police that only answers to you. The problem with the private secret police is I think they're investigating the wrong side. And I don't mind if we go to war with Valen. I'm investing in the Navy, and it seems to me that the Navy is the key to winning a war over for Zil specifically. Thank you, Your Majesty. I promise my department will get results. Titus bowed his head. Rest assured, this will not affect my commitment to your family's security. Why would you say that? Why would you say that, Titus? That's like saying, don't worry. That building of yours looks real nice. I don't think you need insurance at all. Why would you say that? A true professional. I appreciate that. There's still the matter of the king's public response. I inherited all these advisors, Max, yes. Do you have any suggestions? I suggest you tell the truth. Take Valen's intelligence seriously, and we'll be conducting your own investigation into the suspected perpetrators. Emphasizing, of course, that Su-Omania is a lone wolf that does not represent the views of the crown. Or express your confidence that the group is innocent, which it is. I'd find it unwise to confirm or deny Su-Omania's innocence before more information is known, but I'll leave it to Your Majesty. It seems the next steps are quite clear. Or was there any other subject that needed discussion? Nothing more to discuss, sir. We're done when I say we're done, but yes, we are done. Oh my god, that is little dick energy. How dare you speak up when I'm speaking too, but yes, you're right. Oh man. This meeting is adjourned. Lucidia stayed behind. She took off her cap and looked me in the eyes. Allow me to express my gratitude once more, Your Majesty. As a newcomer to this council, it means a lot that you would place your trust in me. So she is the newcomer, right? So of all of the people in the console, the person who is the newest when my father died was Lucidia. She's also the daughter of the general who taught me everything I knew as a soldier. Now, that doesn't make her trustworthy. In fact, it could make her less trustworthy, right? She's new. Maybe she's the one who poisoned my father. But she was also coming onto the council right when my father was poisoned. So even though she could have been a suspect based on what my butler said, to me, she seems the least likely to. You wouldn't think someone brand new to their office would immediately go off, start killing people. I suppose if they were super ambitious, but... My money's on Hugo. I don't trust Hugo. But of course, it could have been Gordion as well. You think it's the butler, South? There was sort of a hint that maybe there was I don't know if there was really a romance option for us, but we could have kept chatting with him at the bath. Maybe he wanted me in power rather than my father. Maybe he couldn't stand my father. But why would he tell me about it unless he was trying to throw me off the scent? I mean, we're good friends with the butler, so maybe the butler was going to get fired. I don't know. But I gotta trust someone. Now that you have the funding, I'd like your help with an investigation of a more sensitive nature. I don't trust the guard. They want more power. So here's the thing. The guard was set up by my father, but my father put strict limits on them. They want more power and influence. They also have the backing of Hugo, my uncle, another member of the royal family who might want power and influence. Either one of those would benefit from my father falling. Probably more than Lucidia. Now that you have that funding, I'd like for your help with an investigation of a more sensitive nature. I would be honored. What is it? I want to find out exactly how my father died. It was a heart attack. He was an old man. I have reason to believe the causes were less than natural. I see. It won't be easy with a golden guard around, but I can commission a small team. Am I to assume everyone who was in the palace the day of his death are a suspect? Yes. I don't think my butler did it, but there's no reason to exclude him from the investigation. I appreciate your trust in me. Consider it handled. I'll update you soon. Ooh, she reached out and gave me a handshake. Her hand lingered in mine for just a second longer than normal before she withdrew it. I picked up a pen and began drafting my response to Valen. Okay. Policies. The ancient walled city of Topaz. Alright, so the hospital's done. International eyes on Palace. Time to get those Rumburg flags out of storage. For the first time since His Majesty King Romus's coronation, Queen Beatrice is scheduled to visit Port Drezon. The streets of the capital will be closed off for the afternoon as she and her party drive through the city streets of Palace Resna, where she will greet the Rizian public from the balcony before meeting with His Majesty and his family in private. A state banquet will follow. Queen Beatrice, huh? Alright, we'll wait on the statement. Jail's Vezek community holds Friendship Day Vigil. So there are Vezek communities in other parts of our kingdom also. Queen Beatrice greets Rumburgians and Branas. Ahead of her state visit to Port Drezon, Queen Beatrice of Rumburg graced Branas with her royal presence, giving a short address to the city's large population of ethnic Rumburgians. From the balcony of a bronze city hall, she praised the city's Rumburgian diaspora for preserving their rich heritage while also embracing our local culture. Do we have more edicts? I have no money for any of them, but... What are the new edicts? Allow free press? Everyone's like, hell no! Oh, there's more? It just cost me authority. Gave us coal mine development. Didn't we already click on that one? The gold mine? I don't want to risk our wine. That kind of worries me. Intelligence hub. I need more money. I need more money. I need more money. The only way to get more money probably is to sell more energy, right? But I don't have energy to sell right now. So I can get one budget by selling one energy. 5 energy for 3 budget. 3 budget. Oh wait, we already... Alright, what's the option here? Statement regarding denounce and distance the crown from Su Omana. Defend and proclaim the innocence of Su Omana. Issue a neutral response. I'm going to issue a neutral response. We don't know that they were responsible. I don't want to denounce them if it turns out they weren't. I don't want to defend them if it turns out that they were. "76 arrests after the bombing?" Of course he would be arresting people all throughout there, regardless of if they were connected to the bombing. He's probably killing them all, too. King expresses sympathies in Zil bombing aftermath. As news of the tragic attack in Zil spread across the nation, the heart of every Rizian ached in unison with our brethren. In the region, amidst the painful period, King Romus had made it clear Rizia stands with Zil. In a heartfelt statement to the press, the king expressed his deepest condolences to the victims of the attack and their families, reiterating Rizia's unwavering commitment to the people of Zil, Rizian and Vezek alike. Recognizing the futility of naming names before any real information is known, the king wisely did not mention Su Omania, the Iza-based group, unfairly blamed for the bombing. Lespa alarmed by CSP's growing influence in Merkopa. Prime Minister Patricio Alvarez of Lespa has voiced mounting concern regarding the CSP's expanding influence across South and East Merkopa. This comes as Lesbia deepens its ties and affiliations with the ATO, signaling a clear strategic response to the counter-malevolentist sway in the region. With increased naval rotations by the CSP and the United Cantanian Marquian Fleet, Lesbia's stance underscores the critical geopolitical recalibration underway. Alvarez's administration, through adept foreign policy and military strategies, seeks to fortify Lesbia's regional position, safeguarding national interests amidst an escalating naval presence of rival powers. Hey, listen, if you want to help me out against Valen, I'm all ears. I'll side with you guys. Regional tourist destination. The country is a popular tourist destination within the region. The growth in tourism boosts the economy and cultural exchanges, though it still falls short of achieving a significant global tourist footprint. That probably would be in green if we had agreed to give the Swordish their beach. Adequate Foreign Intelligence Service. Rizian Foreign Intelligence Service manages to meet the kingdom's basic security needs despite some operational limitations. They gather enough intelligence intel to navigate the geopolitical landscape through improvements that are needed, though improvements are needed for a more nuanced insight. Visit from Queen Beatrice of Rumburg. Vina, Estella, and I sat in the Palace Resna's most ornate stateroom, awaiting the arrival of Queen Beatrice Livingston. Queen Livingston, I presume? An informal supper with my sister-in-law was scheduled for the evening. But for now, the protocol for an official diplomatic visit had to be observed. Pavel came in through the stateroom door. He took a deep breath. Announcing Her Majesty Queen Beatrice Livingston, Queen of the Four Corners of Merkopa, Defender of the Castle of Zarasbor, Conqueror of the Tranquil Sea, Stout Protector of the Ancient Lands of Rome, Descendant of the Most Honorable King Edward I and the Ruler of Rumburg. He stepped aside. Queen Beatrice entered, flanked by her attendants. She was wearing an emerald green gown that matched her tiara. Vina, Estella, and I rose to greet the Queen. Kiss her hand, shake her hand, embrace her. What do monarchs do? She's a queen. I'm a king. What do I do? She's also my mother-in-law, right? Because my late wife. Four, you think? Sister-in-law? Was she? Wait. I thought my wife was her daughter. Was she actually her sister? I guess it did say sister-in-law. Embrace her! Ooh, she returned it warmly. Yay! What a pleasure it is to see you, Your Majesty. We barely had a chance to speak at the coronation. And my dear niece, she turned toward Vina. Why, you're looking more and more like your mother every day. I hope your father's proud of the lady you've become. I am, and I know Lena would have been too. It's lovely to see you, Aunt Bay. Beatrice embraced her tightly before moving on to my mother. The two women gave each other air kisses, then stood back and eyed each other. Queen Beatrice, Queen Mother Estella. She tilted her face upwards and gave a short sniff. The palace looks as magnificent as always, but I fear a chat with your housekeeper may be in order. Every time I visit, it smells just the faintest bit like trash. What? Is that so, Your Excellency? Funny. I do seem to detect an unpleasant draft of hot air, but only since you walked in. Okay. Let's be civil, ladies. We have important state issues to discuss. Diplomacy detected. Then I shall take my leave. I have a terribly urgent appointment on the other side of the palace. By all means, Your Highness. Our chatter is far more boring than the sort of carousing you're used to. Vina, why don't you run along as well, and we'll catch up over supper. Sure, Aunt Bay. Have the staff give my room a ring when you're done. I'll see you two out. Just a moment. Pavel walked Beatrice and myself over to a pair of velvet armchairs. Next to them was a table upon which a towering silver Rumburgian tea urn had been set up. Don't drink the tea! He filled the 2 porcelain cups for us and then escorted Vina and my mother out to the door. Beatrice motioned for her own attendants to wait outside. We settled into our seats. Queen Mother Estella may have a common upbringing, but she is part of the royal family. Please respect her as such. I don't need to start a fight with Beatrice just on the start. To what do we owe the pleasure, Your Excellency? First things first. Just like home. My compliments to your butler. Now, how are you faring a year into your reign? I know you had quite the scare in Zil. I was never scared. Rizians weren't the target after all. I'm less scared by what happened than by the ramifications of it. That is the correct manner of thinking. Needless to say, Rumburg has been monitoring the fallout of the incident with great concern. concern is appreciated. Aside from my worries about your personal safety, I foresee a scenario where Valen uses this tragedy to its own gain. And Valen amassing more power is not in either of our interests, correct, Your Majesty? Not as long as they have our land. Precisely. Beatrice leaned forward and held my gaze. Of course, we are the same age, Your Majesty, but I've worn my crown for many years longer than you have yours. And I and my country are far more experienced at dealing with the Republic of Valen and their backers in the CSP. Sending your own investigators to ferret out the bombing culprit is a good start. It shows President Smolak you are unwilling to play by his terms. But how do you plan to follow that up? What will you do if Mr. Smolak fails to relinquish its hold on Zil? If it comes down to it, I am prepared to fight. Then you will need Rumberg's help. You have helped us so much over the years, I would not ask more of you. You don't need to ask. Our nations are bound by our shared love for my sister. Such a relationship goes beyond mere transaction. Here's what I suggest, Your Majesty. As you may know, Rumberg is currently a major importer of Vezek oil. If we were to significantly reduce our imports, the financial pressure, and thus your leverage over Valen, would be considerable. How much oil are you importing from Valen? Enough to seriously make a dent in the country's economy, were our purchase orders diminished. But in fact, my advisors and I have been speaking about forging a new energy partnership. And as it happens, Rizia is about to come into possession of quite a bit of natural gas, correct? At least some of it belongs to Pales, if you say so. I was about to propose that Rumberg purchase Rizian energy in lieu of Vezek oil. We enrich your country and assist you with your Valen problem in one fell swoop. What kind of timeline are you thinking about? We can cut off our orders of Vezek oil immediately, as long as you grant us a small amount of energy up front, to add to our stockpile. We'd then give you a 1-year grace period to make the transition, after which I warn you our needs will be quite substantial. This is a serious promise. What happens if I can't keep up my end of the guarantee? We'll have to find a more reliable trading partner for energy as well as our materials. And I will be most displeased. Would we have to replace all the oil you've been purchasing? What about only part of it? Rumberg would prefer to eliminate its energy dependence on Valen entirely. But of course we wouldn't want Rizia to make an overly rash promise. So yes, a partial embargo on our end is possible. So you believe Valen can't find another customer? Believe it or not, Victor Smolak has managed to alienate Valen from most of its neighbors. I know our partners in Grace would surely follow suit and cut their own ties. How would Rizian gas even reach Rumberg from here? I'm quite sure some of the same ships that are carrying our gold trade can be retrofitted to transport... Yes, just throw gold ore haulers can just throw liquefied gas into them. Okay. It's great to hear our economic projects are benefiting these potential collaborations. The trade through the ports are worth gold for Rumburg. We both stand to benefit. And what do you think of the idea? I can't promise you anything right. I mean, none of the options were yes, so... Why? Is your eldest son single? Heavens no! My Bradley is still betrothed to the Duchess of Tomsfort. Much as I'd like to continue our traditional royal intermarriage, this pairing is necessary to secure Northwestern Rumburg's continued loyalty. Surely you understand. A shame. They would have made beautiful children. Indeed they would have, but you will find a suitable match for my brilliant niece, I'm sure. We royals are an endangered breed, you know. We've got to tend our lineages as we would a rose garden. Fear not, the garden of House Toras shall remain in bloom for a long time. With the house of House Livingston, it shall bloom only the richest of soil. And don't forget that the rest of Grace is invested in the Toras line of succession as well. Rizia is one of the linchpin nations of all, after all. I didn't realize our fellow kingdoms were keeping such a close eye on me. You are the unproven ruler of a country that possesses fabulous wealth. Don't be surprised you're under scrutiny. Grace wants to see a stable Rizia, especially after the summit at which we all promised closer cooperation. I'll keep that in mind. We monarchies have to stick together. Rumburg will do its best to aid you. I shall see you at supper, Your Majesty. Congratulations on your recent trade deal, by the way, although I wouldn't trust the swords any further than I could throw them. Under the authorization of the King and War and Secretary Counselor Lucidia Azaro, a team of investigators has been dispatched to Zild to uncover more information about the recent Friendship Day attack. Valen has been informed about the presence of Rizian intelligence and promised its full cooperation with the investigation. Sordish businessman Walter Tusk goes on holiday in Valkyra's wine country. The Canavuto vineyards in Qualis welcomed Sordish oligarch Walter Tusk and his family, who spent a night at the winemaker's luxury villa before continuing on a short tour of Valkyra's wine country. Tusk confided that his newfound interest in the region was inspired by the recent availability of Rizian wine in Swordland. Goddamn right it was. So the gas fields are still 2 turns from expansion from completion. Shipyard will be ready next turn, I believe. Valgish Heritage Week allowed to proceed in Fort Ailes. Family visit to Isa. After months of promises and schedule conflicts, Vina and I were finally on our way to visit my cousin Rico Toras at his palace in Isa. The city's main road was straight and impossibly wide, a relic of Marcaean times when the city was a major trading center. I waved out the car window to the crowds of citizens lining the road. Up ahead loomed the domed library of the university. I noticed most of the people who'd come out to see us were native Rizians. Even on the streets of the city's Vezic quarter, little Vrolakovitz. Vina suddenly tapped me on the shoulder. "Father, look over there." In front of the university library, a construction crew was hastily pulling a sheet over a large object. I want to see what's under that sheet. We came to a halt. My guards exited the car and ordered the workers to remove the sheet. Beneath it was one of the statues I'd commissioned of my father, King Valero. His head had been chopped off. Looks like the good people of Isa are exercising their freedom of expression. You're not worried, Father? I wonder if Rico wanted us to see this. He's trying to crack down on crime here, isn't he? What better excuse than sedition against the royal family? If that is his strategy, it's not a very smart one. He's allowing the authority of House Toras to be undermined. Then it's good that the King of Rizia is on his way to restore that authority. Hugo meeting us here too, right? Why do you think they wanted us here so badly? The invitation coming so soon after the Zill incident is no coincidence. I can't even remember the last time Cousin Rico and I properly spoke. We were children, maybe? Under Rico's stewardship, a formidable-looking iron gate had been constructed around the otherwise tranquil palace complex. His security led us through to the Duke's residence in a blindingly white building, with flags of Rizian House Toras hanging from every window. We walked up to the doors. As soon as the guards opened them, a pair of long-nosed Rizian hunting dogs raced toward us, barking. Bella! Bruno! Sit! Both dogs promptly sat at attention, all still as statues. I heard the sound of boots on the tile as my cousin Rico approached. He was wearing an olive green tweed jacket and a flat cap. He gave me a quick bow of acknowledgement and then knelt and kissed Venus' hand. I was struck by his transformation from a gawky, insecure teen to a broad-shouldered, preternaturally confident young man. Welcome, my cousins. It's been far too long. I wish we were seeing each other on more pleasant circumstances. What do you mean? An afternoon in the woods killing boars sounds like the definition of pleasant to me. Wait, I'm going hunting with him? No. Hunting accident? I don't trust this fucker. Your first hunt as a king. I wanted it to be a surprise. This is all majorly concerning. Let's go shoot something. Can I shoot them? He turned around and showed us a KA-74 semi-automatic rifle strapped to his back. I probably wouldn't be boar hunting with a KA-74. Which is presumably an AK-47? I don't know that that'd be the best weapon for dealing with boar. Isn't that cheating? Boars are speedy bastards. You'd be surprised, Your Highness. Give me at least a 30 cal. I don't want a dinky short-ranged cartridge. I mean, I know a 7.62 is a big cartridge, which I'm assuming is what it's playing with, but I want something with a little bit more knockdown power. I guess a 7.62 is basically a 30 cal, ain't it? But I don't know. I was thinking of 5.56, but. We have to prepare ourselves, blah, blah, blah. It'll be a good old-fashioned rifle for me. Hugo smirked at his son. You see, boy, there's still real gentlemen in this world. I don't know, I'm personally a bit of a fuddy-duddy, so I'm gonna go with the old gun. Are they gonna murder my daughter? The heir to my throne? Or are they going to murder me? Is she coming with us? I'll ride with the Duke. I wanted to thank you for your understanding, Your Majesty. I know the Veziks were pressuring you to denounce Su-Omania. You very wisely saw their witch hunt for what it was. Just between us, did Su-Omania plan the attack? That's the funny thing. Nobody I've spoken to has a clue who did it. Although we weren't sorry to hear those Veziks got what was coming to them. Helatia, if it is said, so it is. I will let you in on a secret, though. Just prior to the incident, we were about to activate a branch of Su-Omania in Zell. To what end? The region is teeming with Rizian loyalists anyway. All they need is a spark. Smolik was never going to hand Zill over on a silver platter. We'll only get back what's ours if we put the screws to him. Of course, anyone we sent up there would have to operate in total secrecy. But wouldn't it be fun to mess with the Veziks? I already have one pro-Rizian organization active in Zill. I don't need two. We wouldn't interfere with whatever you have in motion. We'd simply spread the word about the benevolence of King Romus, with or without some light coercion. A tempting proposition, but I wouldn't want to put you or your organization at risk. That should be the least of your worries. We know how to protect ourselves. You don't have to get your hands dirty, cousin. Just say the word if you want our assistance. So my answer at this point is no to Rico, primarily because I don't want it to conflict with our current negotiations. Or not negotiations, but our current investigation. If his folks get involved, it's going to mess with Lucidia's investigation. So we need to let that play out. If that wasn't ongoing, then I'd say maybe let him get involved, but not right now. I understand. I was only trying to help. If there's anything else you'd like to bring up with your king, now is the time. I'm sure you've been kept abreast of the situation here, Your Majesty. The drugs, the violence, the open resistance against our government. The headless statues. You weren't supposed to see those. I've heard that in times of emergency, police from the Rizian Central Forces can be placed under individual leaders' direct command. I've petitioned your War and Security Counselor for just such a transfer, but she refused. You should be cooperating with the greater province of Brennus. I mean, with the Saisons? They can't be counted on to cooperate. If anything, they're actively plotting against us. I'll send you the petition when we're both back home. I trust it'll do what's best for the city. At last, enough politics talk. We disembarked and Rico eagerly unlatched the back of our jeep. Bella and Bruno hopped out and started sniffing the air. Caught the scent already, my dears. Must be a dozen boars out there. The other car pulled up next to us. Hugo and Vina got out, still in conversation. So you see, Your Highness, knowing that how to aim and fire a gun correctly is as useful as a royal skill as knowing how to hold a salad fork. Keep at it, Hugo. You'll make a huntress out of my daughter yet. With her instincts, she'll be the finest shot this kingdom ever saw. But I've bored you enough, Your Highness. I believe Rico is going to show you the ropes. I'd be delighted to if the king permits. It's not my decision. Do you want to go with him, Vina? Yes, I'd love to. We didn't even get a chance to speak at the coronation. The two of us it is, Your Majesty. My son may aim for quantity, but men like us know quality is key. We climbed into the position in the hunting blind, opposite of Vina and Rico's position. And now we play the waiting game. There was a long stretch of silence, punctuated only by the chirping of birds and occasional bark of Bella and Bruno in the distance. I may not like Rico's hunting methods, but his dogs are second to none. They'll drive the boars out in no time. Rico's a shrewd kid, takes after his father. You're too kind. So you'll consider him as a marriage prospect for your daughter, then? I knew this was coming. Shockingly enough, the thought never crossed my mind. I'm not going to worry about the cousins part. We'll just say it never crossed my mind. That's indeed shocking, Your Majesty. As you know, there are interest both sides, both inside and out this country, who seek to snatch Rizia away from House Toras. Consanguinity wouldn't be my first choice either, but it's the only way to keep our family in power. Let's see how they get along today before we start making wedding arrangements. Fair enough. Rico can be quite the charmer when he sets his mind to it. As your uncle and your advisor, this is my advice. You may follow or disregard it as you choose. Just then we heard a rustling sound coming from the woods. Bella and Bruno found their quarry. By the way, I just want to say this dude does not like... Hugo gives me the major vibes of just angling for power, which is another reason why I suspect maybe he was involved in the murder of my father. Get my father out of the way, get me in power, so then he can marry my daughter off to his son, then they can murder me, and then his son is the king, along with my daughter. That is like maybe a little conspiratorial, like that's a little bit of pieces working together, but definitely could be a thing. Shoot a boar. The largest boar fell to the ground, the others scattered in all directions, squealing. Well done! As I turned away to reload, I heard a series of rapid-fire bangs coming from Rico's direction. Jesus. Not very sporting, if you ask me. No shit. His son's a fucking boar. I'd racked up 4 kills. Hugo had 6. Rico had a dozen. He and my daughter were deep in conversation as they climbed down from their blind. Liza this, Liza that. Liza this, Liza that. I'm telling you, if the Valen Civil War had happened while grandmother was still in power, she wouldn't have set out the welcome mat. No, Liza would have honored Rizia and Valen's long history of cooperation and showed compassion for those who suffered. You naive little girl. Everyone in Merkopa wants what we Rizians have. The Veziks saw a chance to get it, and they jumped on it. He flung his gun to the ground in frustration. I'm afraid your daughter didn't shoot a damn thing on the hunt today, Your Majesty. She was too busy distracting me with her nonsense opinions. You've done well enough for all of us. Congratulations. Thank you. You didn't make out too poorly yourself. We posed for a photograph next to the boars that we'd killed. The assistant began packing everything away. We'll eat well enough. The chef at Palace Cezanne does an excellent braised boar with wine sauce. Rico, Vina, why don't you two ride ahead and notify the kitchen staff? His Majesty and I will be right behind you. Vina gave me a pleading look. Why don't you go with your son, Hugo? I'll accompany the princess. As you wish. Come along. Vina silently thanked me as Rico and Hugo departed. We climbed into the second jeep and headed back to the palace. Dinner night that night was indeed delicious. So I didn't shoot down the opportunity for a marriage proposal, but I also didn't trap my daughter in an endless situation she would have probably been frustrated with. Rizia's Imperial Businesswomen's Association highlights a gender pay gap. New report released by the Rizia Imperii Businesswomen's Association reveals that despite great strides our kingdom has made for women's rights, inequality persists in the job market. Men still earn significantly more than women. A gap the REBA report suggests can be surmounted with the help of government intervention. Well, I've already seen that proposal and I don't have the money for it. Approve or deny Duke Rico Toras' request. Duke Rico Toras of Iza has requested the transfer of additional police forces to his direct control to crack down on the recent upswing in crime. These reinforcements would be drawn from the federally controlled Central Police Headquarters in Rizia's Imperii. Nope. I already told you to figure it out yourself, sir. Also, the last thing we need is, given that I don't know if he's a psychopath, but he sure is not someone I feel like I can trust, more authority. So we'll deny that to Rico. With that being said, guys, we've been going for about an hour, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this video up here. We will pick things up next time. Until then, though, this is the Historical Gamer saying once again, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'm out.